Hi, my name is Abby Goslin. You can call me Dr. Goslin. I'm the professor for this class, PL 270 Philosophical Explorations. And I just wanted to introduce myself in the class over this video since we didn't have school today, so that you can get to know a little bit about me and about the class. The main thing that I would have done today if we had met in person is go over the syllabus together. So I want to do that in this video. We'll also spend some time getting to know each other and learning each other's names, and we'll do that on Thursday when we meet in person. But today I just wanted to go over the syllabus. So I'm going to share my screen, and first I'm going to show you the World Class website. So let me just find that for us. Oh, I know what I have to do. I think oh, yeah, it's not that one, it's this one. Okay, here we are, the World Class website. This is the homepage. So I have an announcement here. Hopefully you've seen that. I use the contents page. And so we have the syllabus, which is here. You can download it. Most of the readings are books that you have to buy, but there's one reading that's a PDF that we'll do at the end of the semester, and that's there. If you want a list of all the homeworks, the assignments that we do ahead of time, you can look at the homework at a glance documents, and they just list all the prompts. And then we have the projects are over here. We'll be doing 4 projects in this class. And then for some units, I have notes and handouts. And so when I use those, you can find those over here. And so for this first unit, I use a bunch of notes and handouts for Epictetus and Aristotle. So that is on the content page. And then your assignments are over here. And they're all dated, so you'll just have to look at what the homework assignment is for the due date. And so I'll go into this one. It looks differently for me than it does for you because I have the teacher visual, and the student version looks a little bit different. But here's what the homework prompt is in my view. So we're going to read, if you have the book, we're going to read pages 1 through 14 in the Enchiridion. If you don't have the book, I sent an email with a link to an online version of the book. I want you to read passages 1 through 32. I might have said 31 in the email, but it should be 32. And for your reading, so these are short passages. Some of them are only one sentence, some of them are a couple of paragraphs. For your reading response, choose 3 passages that you find most interesting and write a short paragraph for each explaining what you think the passage means and why you find it intriguing. Please be ready to share your thoughts in class. And so we will spend class time on Thursday going over the passages that you chose. So be ready to talk about those on Thursday. So I want you to read all of those passages through number 32 and pick 3 that you find most interesting to write about. So that will be your homework for Thursday. And so all the homework assignments are under this assignment category, including you have some reports due that will be related to the first project, which is the Virtue Project. So you can find all the projects here as well. Everything is located here by due date. So that's the assignments, and then World Class is set up to calculate your grade at any time. So you just go to the grade section. It looks different for me than it does for you. So I'm not going to show you that part, but you can go to the grade section to find out your grade at any time. So that is what the World Class site looks like. Those are the parts that I use, the home, obviously, content, assignments, and grades. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing World Class, and now I want to talk about the syllabus. So I am going to go over that with you. So I'm going to share my screen. So here is the screen for the syllabus. So make it a little bit bigger here. We are philosophical explorations. My office is Carroll Hall 230B. I'm with the philosophers. I'm next to education and communications. I'm in between those. I'm in the second floor. Um, my office number is there. My office phone number doesn't always work. So the best way to get a hold of me is my email. I check it constantly throughout the day. So that really is the best way to get a hold of me. I have office hours on Mondays and Tuesdays. Monday 10 to 12 over Zoom, and Tuesday from 12:15 to 2:15 in my office. And I can meet at other days and times, either in person or over Zoom. We just have to arrange that. And if you're going to meet with me over Zoom, including on Monday, you have to email me ahead of time so I can send you the link to the Zoom meeting. But like I said, I check my email constantly, so you could email me Monday morning and I could still send you the link, to meet Monday at 10. Um, Class meets 9:30 to 10:45 and Loyola 14. So I'll read the course overview. Philosophy, which means love of wisdom, involves thinking about big questions about things like reality, knowledge, morality, and justice. In this class, we'll focus on the Jesuit question, how ought we to live? We will read historical and contemporary philosophers who give us different ways of approaching this question and different but complementary ways of answering it. Our focus will be on how we ought to live given the way the world acts on us, often without our ability to fully control it. We are frequently subject to conditions like poverty, suffering, injustice, violence, illness, disability, and death. Despite these difficulties, how can we manage to still live a worthwhile life? Through learning about some philosophers' approaches to this question, you will develop your own answer about how we ought to live. Thinking philosophically involves not only posing the big questions, but also using a specific method for thinking about them, namely critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to think about something critically, to step back from it and reflect upon it, to consider several possible responses to a question or problem, and to justify choices and answers with reasons that make sense to others. You will approach philosophical topics with your own ideas about how we should think about them, but with an open mind, you will re examine these topics with new ways of seeing and understanding them. You are expected to share your own ideas with the rest of the class so we can all benefit from seeing and understanding them in different ways, thereby learning from each other. You should expect that your own ideas may change or at least be deepened through this shared learning and critical thinking, as will be the case for all of us. So we have some student learning outcomes that are common for all PL270s that everyone takes, no matter who your teacher is. You'll acquire and develop proficiency in reading, interpreting, and applying philosophical texts. For the purposes of evaluation, this can be broken into two separate measurable elements. Students will be able to show facility with critical reading and critical interpretation of texts. Students will be able to apply their analysis of a philosophical text to another text, or to a contemporary event, or to a different philosophical problem. Second, you'll be able to connect the work of philosophers to the ethical discernment necessary to respond to the question, how ought we to live, which is the big Jesuit question. This ethical discernment must be done within a context, either reflecting on how ideas have developed as a result of the class, or situating contemporary ethical concerns within historical philosophical ideas. So you'll reflect on and articulate how the ideas learned in class helped you develop in response to the question, how ought we to live, in ways that went beyond the answers that you might have given before taking the class. And you'll reflect on and articulate how the ideas learned in class are part of a living conversation in which historical philosophical texts help us understand and address contemporary ethical concerns. And then the third student learning outcome is that you'll practice philosophical discernment in the Jesuit paradigm of experience, reflection, and action, developing the capacity to be a contemplative in action. And all of your homework and project assignments connect with those SLOs. So for this class, we have some assigned books. Reading is an essential part of engaging with philosophy. You're expected to do every reading assignment, and class discussions and activities are designed assuming that you've done the required reading. Some of these readings are difficult, and while I do not expect you to understand everything that you read, I do expect you to make your best effort. In class, we will work together to try to figure out what the author is saying so we can evaluate the material. As this involves consulting the text frequently, you're expected to bring the relevant book to class every day. So the books that are required are Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics. You can find that online, but I like the translation of the book that I ordered, so I do recommend buying that one. Susan Bryson's Aftermath. The newer books that we have for this class, you can't find online that I'm aware of, at least not a free copy. And so you have to buy Aftermath. Javi Carell's Illness, The Cry of the Flesh. Epictetus in Caridean is a historical one that I sent an email about how you can find it online. And we're starting with that book. But the Dover edition that I had you order is only a few dollars, so that's worth getting too. Jonathan Lear's Radical Hope is a newer book. You cannot find that online for free. Um, and I'm going to skip a little bit here, but please go back and read the syllabus a little more carefully. Talk about general expectations. So you're responsible for checking your email regularly. Announcements about the class will be made over email and in the announcements section of our World Class site. The primary way that I will contact you if I need to is through your Regis email, and that's the primary way you should contact me. If we meet over Zoom, occasionally we may need to meet over Zoom, such as during inclement weather. If this happens, I will send an email announcing the change. So this would be if the weather's really bad, but for some reason Regis doesn't cancel, we would hold class over Zoom, but I would let you know over email and in the announcement section of World Class. Zoom meetings are created through World Class and can be accessed through the World Class portal. You must log into World Class with your Regis credentials using your Regis email in order to be able to access the class. Alternately, you can log into Zoom with your Regis credentials and under Join Meeting, put the correct meeting number. You are expected to attend class even if we are meeting over Zoom. It's still required. In order to get participation credit for that day, you must have your microphone available and your camera on at all times during class. You cannot turn it off or you will not get participation points. This is so you can interact with your classmates and me. Much of the work we do in class will be small group discussions with large group shareouts. Everyone is expected to participate in both small group discussions and large group shareouts. For shareout, a member of the group will be called on to summarize what the group talked about. We will rotate who gets called on so everyone will get a chance to summarize their group's discussion every class period. When you summarize the group's discussion, give some details so we can really understand the content of what you talked about. And we'll be using that format for the second, third, and fourth units. The first unit is a little bit different. We won't be using that format too much yet, but for 3/4 of the class, we will be. And then the last one is I do not expect you to understand everything that you read for the class, but I do expect you to try. Give your best effort and talk to me if you're feeling lost or overwhelmed in the class. So now I want to talk about some class policies, statements, and general information. So for this class, all assignments must be turned in by being uploaded to the appropriate folder in the class website on World Class. Each assignment will be given a grade over World Class. All assignments must be turned in on time. On World Class, assignments turned in after the start of the class period will be marked as late and you will lose points for them. Give yourself plenty of time to work on assignments and upload them to World Class before class. Um, Class decorum policy: when you attend class in person, please be considerate of your fellow classmates and your instructor. Arrive on time and stay for the entire class period, but when this is impossible, please enter or leave quietly. In a discussion-based class like this, lack of full participation is highly distracting and disruptive. Do not read materials not directly relevant to the class, and do not carry on conversations that are off topic. Students who are distracting themselves and/or others, and especially me, will be called upon and asked to stop their distraction and possibly asked to leave. Please only use electronic devices such as cell phones or laptops for class-related purposes. And I can tell when you're texting, and I will ask you to please stop texting and put your phone away. It's very rude to use your electronic devices during class when you're supposed to be giving 100% attention to whoever's talking, whether that's me or one of your classmates. So I expect you to give full attention to whoever's talking and to whatever activity I'm asking you to do, and to not use your electronic devices unless you're consulting them for the reading or something like that. If or when you attend on Zoom, I talked about that, the same kind of courtesy I expect for you to arrive on time and stay for the whole period. As I said, I need you to leave your camera on at all times and to have your microphone accessible and to try to free yourself from distractions as much as possible. Academic Honor Code. All members of the Regis University community exhibit the qualities of honesty, loyalty, and trustworthiness in all academic activities, holding themselves and each other accountable for the integrity of the learning community. Regis University students are committed to the highest standards of academic integrity and assume full and complete responsibility for maintaining those standards in the academic environment. So violations of academic integrity will result in me failing you for the class. I have a zero tolerance policy with academic integrity violations. So this includes cheating, falsification, fabrication, submitting the same paper to different classes, plagiarism, which includes both copying and paraphrasing without proper citation, abusing academic materials such as copying my notes into a paper, and using artificial intelligence to write a paper that is supposed to be in your own words. Um, the use of artificial intelligence to write your paper is absolutely prohibited in this class. I know that there are some good uses of it, such as to generate project ideas, and that kind of use would be fine. But in terms of writing, your writing is supposed to be in your own words, not using an artificial intelligence generator to create it. And I can often tell when a paper is written with artificial intelligence because it reads very differently. So that is zero tolerance. If I catch you, I fail you for the class. Um, and it goes on your permanent record. And if you have too many academic integrity violations on your permanent record, you can get expelled from the university. Okay. Learning support policy. If you have a documented disability requiring academic adjustments, please contact Disability Services, and you can start the process or go to this website for more information. Your documentation will be reviewed and appropriate and reasonable accommodation will be determined. Please do this as soon in the semester as you can so I can know what accommodations you need. We don't have tests in this class, so those kinds of accommodations won't apply, but we do have homework and papers, and sometimes I have students who need a note taker, and if that's the case, I will ask you all for a volunteer to take notes for someone, and you get compensation for it. So it's an important job to have. Incomplete policy, basically this says that the only way you get an incomplete is if you have done all of the work up until the end of the semester and then something happens at the end, like you get very sick and you're not able to complete the work, then you can get an incomplete. But if you haven't been doing the work earlier in the semester, you cannot get an incomplete for that. So it's only if you have been staying on top of your work and something unforeseen happens. Whoops. Okay, academic support. The Learning Commons offers academic support to all Regis students through our Writing Center, tutoring, and academic success workshops. And so there's some information about the Writing Center, tutoring, and the academic success workshops. I do highly recommend that you work with the Learning Commons for help, especially the Writing Center. It's really useful to bring drafts of your paper to have someone look at it and help you work through drafts. So I highly recommend that you do that. Counseling resources during the semester. If you find that life stresses are interfering with your academic or personal success, consider contacting the Office of Counseling and Personal Development. All full-time students are eligible for counseling services, and there's some contact information for you. Diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. At Regis University, the term diversity affirms our Jesuit commitment to build an inclusive community that values the dignity and contributions of all our members. We strive to shape a learning environment characterized by the Jesuit traditions of mutual respect and the pursuit of social justice, recognizing that our various identities and experiences, including but not limited to age, gender, race, ethnicity, class, disability, and sexual orientation, religion, and other forms of human difference, contribute to the richness and vitality of our Regis community and those we are connected to locally, nationally, and globally. In accordance with our Jesuit Catholic mission, we commit ourselves to shaping an atmosphere where the human rights of every individual are respected. We desire that same commitment to be instilled in each member of our community and demonstrated through our words and actions. Should you ever feel like that's not being respected, you can contact the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusive Excellence. The non-discrimination, sexual misconduct, and retaliation policy. The Regis University policy on discrimination, sexual misconduct, and retaliation prohibits university community members from discrimination and harassment on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, including sexual harassment, sexual violence, sexual assault, sexual exploitation, intimate partner violence, or stalking, gender, disability, age, religion, veteran status, marital status, pregnancy, parental status, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, genetic information, or any other legally protected status in any of its policies, programs, emissions, or activities. And I need you to know that I am a responsible employee, or what has also been called a mandatory reporter, meaning that if you disclose to me that you have been the victim of any kind of sexual harassment or other types of harassment and discrimination that are covered by this policy, I have a legal obligation to bring that to the Title IX coordinator. I uh, so I'm not a confidential person. I am someone who is legally required to share that information with the Title IX coordinator. So I just need you to know that. You can always bring those kinds of concerns to the Title IX coordinator yourself, and there's some um, ways to get in touch with them. The Indigenous Lands Acknowledgement, Regis University recognizes that Indigenous peoples are the original stewards of the land we stand on today. We respectfully acknowledge that this land is the traditional homeland and buffalo hunting grounds of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations. We also recognize the 48 tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. As a Jesuit university, Regis is engaged in a mission of walking with those communities who've been excluded. Accordingly, it is important that we acknowledge that our presence on this land is due to the forced displacement of Indigenous peoples from their ancestral lands. It is only in publicly recognizing this historical reality that we are able to embrace in the present our moral and intellectual responsibility and to affirm our commitment to a faith that does justice. In order to honor the original inhabitants of this land and to enter into right relationship with their descendants, Regis will continuously reimagine this acknowledgement, act on our responsibilities to the common good, and respectfully collaborate with and support members of local Indigenous communities. Electronic and audio recording policy. I don't have a problem if you need to record our class, but I do want you to let me know ahead of time. I think that is just common courtesy. So please let me know if you're going to record. Preferred name policy. I will call you whatever name you want me to call you. Just make sure I know what it is. University-sponsored absences policy. So if you have a university-sponsored absence, such as for varsity athletics, debate, I don't know if we have a dance team, but that's part of our our list here. Scholarly conference presentations or participation are considered excused absences. So I need you to notify me in advance over email, and I will record that in my participation log, and it will be excused, but only for university-sponsored absences or absences with a doctor's note. Okay, policy for class interruptions, cancellations. So extenuating circumstances, whether caused by Mother Nature or power or other outages, or even some kind of catastrophe that I have to deal with or emergency, can interrupt our ability to deliver in-person classes. So if we have a snow day, we will not meet in class. But if we have some other issue that where Regis is open, but I'm not able to hold class in person, we will meet over Zoom, like I said, and I will let you know as soon as I can over email and in the announcements part of World Class. Key dates, deadline for ad drop is January 23rd, which is next week. Date that midterm grades are due is March 14th, and deadline for withdrawal is April 7th. So your grade for this class is based on participation in class discussion and activities and extensive writing. You will have regular homework assignments in which you practice reading and writing skills such as identifying meaningful passages, isolating a thesis, summarizing an author's view, and forming your own argument. You will be expected to share these through class participation. There are two main purposes of these assignments. The first is to help focus your reading and organizing your thoughts about the topic so you better understand what you read, so you read more effectively and productively and don't waste your time looking at words that don't make sense. The second purpose is to ensure that you come to class prepared to discuss the reading so we can talk about where the reading takes us and not just review or reiterate it. Homework is essential. And I grade it on a 100-point scale. It used to be a 2-point scale, and so I just translated it to 100 points because World Class can deal with that better. And so 100 points is proficient. You answered the prompt adequately with detail and thoughtfulness. You cited places in the text where you found ideas, and you supported your answer with 3 quotes from the text, which you explained. So you have to work with the text and quote and explain 3 passages in order to get full credit. Um, and so 100 points is full credit. 80 points is approaching proficiency. You answered part of the prompt, but not thoroughly or adequately, or your answer, while demonstrating some effort, was only partially correct. You did not cite or quote adequately. You may receive less than 80 points depending on how incomplete or late the assignment was. And 0 points is not proficient. You did not meet the requirements of the prompt, or your answer was incorrect. If I can't tell that you did the reading based on the response, you do not get any credit for the response. And so you will lose 20 points automatically if your assignment is late. That's the late penalty. So the most you could get is 80 points if their homework is late. I'm not a hard grader for homework. Most people get 100 points most of the time, but I do want to see you make that effort. You're graded largely on effort, in being at least in the ballpark of being right. And I do not accept assignments that are more than 2 weeks old under any circumstance. Projects, you have 4 projects. In the first project, you'll practice living according to the ideas of Epictetus and Aristotle and evaluate their views based at least partly on your experience. In the second project, you'll listen to a community member tell a story about their experience and use ideas from Jonathan Lear to reflect on the courage and vulnerability inherent to our stories. In the third project, you'll write a brief autobiography that explores some of the issues that Susan Bryson writes about. In the fourth project, you'll interview someone about how they faced their finitude, exploring some of the issues that Javi Carell writes about, and reflect on your own views as well. In these papers, you'll demonstrate your understanding of the material and your ability to put the philosophical ideas we talk about into practice, and you'll practice the reflection on activity involved with being a contemplative in action. Class discussion and participation. This course is a discussion-based class in which we try to understand the material and evaluate it together. It should be a place where it is safe to think out loud and try out ideas without necessarily being wedded to them. While you're not expected to understand everything that you read, you are expected to make your best effort and come to class prepared to engage. Remember that no question is dumb, and asking good questions is good participation. Remember also that good participation means both personally participating and giving others people opportunities to participate, including asking your peers what they think. I don't tend to get a dynamic where the same people always talk because of the way we structure the class. So we do the small group activities where you discuss with a couple of other people an answer to a question that I put on the board on the projector. So you start with that in the small group, and then for the large group share out, I call on a member of the group and I ask you to summarize what your group talked about, and we go around the room and every group participates. And we do this several times with different questions throughout the class. So in the end, everyone participates at least once in the large group share out. So that's how, like I said, 3/4 of the class will work after Unit 1. I'll let you read more about that. So some norms that you might think about are arrive with questions about the reading, allow people immersed in a community to speak on their own behalf, recognize that not all members of a community have the same experience, use I statements, allow for silence to include others, enter conversations with an open mind and come with curiosity, not judgment. If a reading troubles you, reach out to me for support. What is said here stays here, and refer to other students in the class by their names. Participation is absolutely required. I grade it after class in a PowerPoint, an Excel spreadsheet. And then after 2 weeks, I put in your grade into world class. And so you're graded in the same 100-point scale as the homework. 100 points is you actively participate in class, contributing to class discussion, and participating in group activities. 80 points is you passively participated, listening attentively, and perhaps taking notes, but not contributing or participating actively. So if you're in your small group and you're just sitting there and you're not talking with your group mates, the most you can get is 80 points for that. 0 points is you slept, you distracted yourselves or others, you used electronic devices in ways that were not approved for classroom use, etc. If you are texting on your phone or using your computer for something that is not class related, you get 0 points for the day. Attendance policy, if you need to miss 1 or 2 days of class due to compelling reasons, make sure you do not miss any others, especially for less important reasons. Missing a day of class will result in an automatic loss of participation points for that day. I only excuse absences for university-sponsored events such as sports or debate, for religious holidays, or for illness with a doctor's note. More than 2 unexcused absences during the semester will result in lowering your final grade. If I get word about your absence or performance, I will contact you to check in with you, but you are always welcome to contact me about anything. So your grade is composed of the following parts. Participation is 30%, homework assignments are 30%, projects are 35% total, and the final reflection paper is 5%. And then I have the course schedule here. I'm not going to talk through it, but I'll let you look at it. So we start with Epictetus, then we move into Aristotle and do the Virtue Project. Then we do Radical Hope, then we do Aftermath, and finally we do Illness. And I would like you to buy all of your books for the semester immediately so you have them all on hand. If you wait, the bookstore does return books, and so they might not have the book by the time you need it. So make sure you get all of your books right away. Um, that is all I have for the syllabus. I know that is a lot, um, but there we go. So that's an introduction to the class. On Thursday, I'm going to spend some time getting to know you and learning your names, and we will also dive right into the first assignment. So if you remember, I need you to read the first 2/3 or so of the Epictetuses in Enchiridion, up to passages 32. And so write about your favorite passages in those, and we'll talk about them in class. So that is all I have for today, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye.